Hey everybody, CVH here, and today we'll be taking Goblin Aggro Archer to the Legend Ladder. Now it's about time that I try this deck out, and I'm actually doing it in today's video to celebrate Lateralus19's first article on Between the Lanes, betweenlanes.net, my strategy website obviously. I will link the article down below, but he loves Goblin Archer. He's been playing it a lot to relatively high ladder finishes, or relatively high ladder. I'm pretty sure he finished high with it last season, but I'm not entirely sure if that's what he used. But yeah, he's gotten to top 20, top 10 I believe with it. So I'm finally giving this a shot, but he goes over the entire deck in more detail as well as card replacements and matchup analysis in the article, which I will link below again. If you haven't seen that already, it's his first article on the site, so I encourage you to read it, show it some love, and this is the exact list from the article. He did mention a couple potential replacements to make, but I'm just going with exactly what's used, because I haven't played the deck before at all, so I don't know if I want to make any replacements. But we should see how it works. Hopefully I do it justice, because I don't have much experience. I have a lot of experience with Archer, but not a whole lot of experience with Goblins in particular. Hopefully I don't miss anything. Looks like we did what we're supposed to do, which is open with Murkwater Butcher and Goblin Skulk. So that makes this game a lot easier, a lot harder to mess up against maybe a Control Mage. That could be an issue. So, do we want to just get the Skulk on board ASAP? I think we probably do. This will cost 1 indefinitely. Let's ring into the Skulk. We have both Curses and Murkwater Goblins, which we can get off of the Skulk. But the important thing is that we're getting them for free. Or we're not getting them for free, unless we top deck a Curse. Okay, if that was in our opening hand as well, we could have started with double Murkwater Butcher. As it stands, he's putting up quite a roadblock there with that Steward. I wonder if that means he has removal that he decided not to use. Because what I would like to do is try to keep my Skulk alive. See if we can top deck a Curse next turn. Unfortunately, we can't play two things this turn either, so we might be keeping everything alive, but we're probably not going to be getting a Pilfer in next turn regardless, unless we draw a Curse or Shadow Shift or something like that. The Butcher doesn't really fit into our turn too well. I'm just going to go ahead and play Nimble Ally because it's the biggest thing we could play this turn. I'm not going to attack because then he could just use his Steward if he has no other removal to finish off one of my guys. With only 3 Magicka, he can't play a Lightning Bolt here. Seems important. I'm just going to make the deck list a bit smaller. It's a bit larger than I thought it would be on the screen, because I'm using the Legends Decks screenshot. Yeah, for anyone who's asking, I get this question a lot, but I'm not using any sort of tracker or anything. I don't know if one of those exists. Perhaps it's Item Mage. Was this a guy with the mid-rangey mage? I don't think so. But yeah, this is not a tracker. This is just me screenshotting things and putting them up on OBS, just as I would do on stream. So he right now doesn't have a favorable in that lane, so we'll just play everything in the right and hopefully maintain that. Now between the two, I probably want to get the Butcher out first, because we don't, like, Kinsman can burn them out whenever. And earlier in the game, if we top decked Skirmisher, for example, we'd want to have the Butchers on the board. As we do now, we have 2 buffs, give +2/+2. So we have a trade, and we can trade with that without losing any of our guys. Unfortunately, we still don't get the Pilfer, but maybe one day, if we believe, then eventually we get there. I think this is just the only thing we can do right now. It's just too good of a play to ignore. A total of +4/+4 on the board, in addition to playing a 4 for ourselves. Let's do it. Would have been nice to get some more Goblins out. That's one of the reasons we want to get our Skulk effects off. Want to get those Pilfers in to potentially get those Goblins for a free way to buff the Goblins some more with the Skirmisher. Well, we can get ahead on life really easily for the Jarl. We could even attack both things in the left, or attack one thing in the left, go for the Ring into Jarl, and try to get a Curse in our next 2 cards, keeping our Skulk alive, getting us a search. So I say we go for that. I'm going to split the lane still, because if I have to double trade, I don't want everything in the same lane. Let's get a Curse, though. That'd be great. No Curse. I have Defender Man. It's pretty good. But we have 4 relatively threatening creatures on the board, and he doesn't have anything. We're finally starting to get punching. So that's really the glory of Triumphant Jarl, as Lateralus talks about in the article. When you are unable to close the game super early, you have the Jarl to refill your hand, like we're doing now. We have a lot of ways to keep up the pressure. And it's still unclear what exactly this deck is. Still would not mind Curse. It's pretty scary, man. That is pretty scary indeed. I don't think this deck is running Immolating Blast, though. So I'm probably fine to go ahead and shift my Jarl over. And we could do that, or we could just play double 3. Or we could play Shadow Shift, Butcher, Cut Purse. We'll Shadow Shift, I think. But just to see if we can get more ways to buff our goblins. Ah, Curse. Okay, that's not bad.
The forest is ours.
Most Fragile in first? Or Most Fragile in last, because we'd rather have to use Lightning Bolt on that. Keep the Goblin around.
The forest is ours.
Doesn't look like he has much counterplay. So, we could simply play the Kinsman. Now he's at 10. Didn't really expect that to go quite as well as it has been. But yeah, seems like about time to get this last gasp on the board. Let's just curse one of these because put ourselves in the best possible position to win the game. Fill up the board even with our 0-cost Goblin and hope this is enough to deal this last 10 points of damage. That sounds about right. Could be playing like Item Mage with Dress Tormentor. It's always nice to figure out a deck while you're playing against it. Alright, let's just play the Fighters Guild on the right, the Murkwater Goblin, and actually the Murkwater Butcher in the left. Don't really see a reason to hold back. Again, I don't think this deck is running Immolating Blast, but boy, is it going to get me if he is. But I think that's okay. Because at this point, we just need to give ourselves the highest chance of that happening.
It has been an engaging hunt.
Alright, Goblin Archer taking the first game of the video. Feels good, man. Let's do it again. Let's hope for another quick game. Up to 14. Yeah, when Lateralus was playing the deck, he hit like, he went from the non-legend ranks to legend with it, and then got to a high rank as well. So he has a lot more games with the deck than I do, so I encourage you to check out that article, like I said. But it seems fun so far. Definitely a fan of aggressive aggro decks. Aggressive archer decks. I got Feylash. A common name to see on the legend ladder and in Archer Mirror Match. I don't remember what he was playing last time. The mid-range Archer with Murkwater Shaman and like curse effects, but you know, slower with more threats, is pretty popular recently. I think we just full ship all of this. If I was playing a normal Archer deck, I'd probably keep the Fighters Guild, but we're looking for our Butchers, we're looking for our Skulks. There is a Skulk. So we can go Skulk on turn 2.
This should be good.
If it survives, we can go Murkwater Savage on turn 3 with a 0-cost card. Or we could play more defensively and simply Murkwater Witch that down right now. I am a pretty big fan of the Skulk, though. We could also just get Curse from the effect as well. Yeah, we should probably be developing the Skulk. So let's develop it. Just throwing out some options there. If Murkwater Shaman can stick against an aggro deck with this many 1-health dudes, it could potentially just win the game by itself. Oh, it's the only play. So, Murkwater Witch is obviously fine. Let's see what we get off of this, though. The Curse. Yep, this seems good. Savage and Curse, and could play around Battle Rage Orc by putting Murkwater Savage in the right. He had the ability to ring it out last turn, though, and I'm pretty sure he would have. We didn't give him another card there, so it'd either have to be this card or the next card he drew. I'm gonna go ahead and develop in the field lane. To really take control of it. This card used to be a 2-cost, by the way. I think that was referenced briefly in the article, but yeah. When it was a 2-cost, you saw this in every single Archer deck. They weren't necessarily built around goblins, but it was the best 2-drop in the game. It's quite a scary situation there. Alright, we get to keep it around. Feeling okay about that. Nothing super efficient here. Obviously, Murkwater Shaman is my best curve play, but how much do I want to really play to keep this 2-2 around? If I Murkwater Witched that 3-2 down to a 2-1, go up to a 3-3, it would go down to a 3-1, be super pingable. The only other option, really, if I don't like the Witch play, and which could be used better in the future, is to just Crushing Blow. Or we could just play the Shaman and go face. Which I think I'm okay with. We could Shaman and trade, but that seems worse. He's likely to have more Earthbone Spinners anyway. I'm okay with this. Nothing else seemed efficient enough. Unfortunately, our guy's gonna die. Was a pretty good Earthbone Spinner. Now if we had had a Murkwater Witch plus 2-drop green something, doesn't really matter what at that point. That would have been ideal. But yeah, we want to protect this, so we played it in the field lane for now. The shadow lane for now, excuse me. Alright, so again, nothing super efficient. Obviously playing guards doesn't really do anything against Blood Dragon. Could just hit for 7 with our Cliff Racer in the left and our Shaman in the right. No matter what he trades with, we have Crushing Blow, Curse to finish it off next turn for 3 Magicka total. We could just develop another Shaman. I would like that more if we were able to play something along with it, besides Curse. So I think I'm just going to go for the Cliff Racer play. It's aggressive. Aggressive in this deck is generally synonymous with good. Correct. That's sad for me. But we are still able to use Crushing Blow Curse to full clear, if that is correct. Could also leave the Blood Dragon around for one more turn, let it potentially kill the Murkwater Witch, and just go... Or we could just go Shaman during Cut Purse and Curse. We do have the one Curse. That seems like potentially the best play. Tempted to play everything in the Shadow Lane. Just to play around any other potential guards. Or any other potential charges, I don't know. That's not my words today, man. But you know what I mean. Playing around some potential charges. Obviously, though, he can contest then in that lane if he doesn't believe his Blood Dragon will stick. He might be thinking that I'm going to try to trade with the Blood Dragon, which is one potential thing. That we again could do it, but I don't think I will. Earthbone Spinner. Alright, he's taking the trade for me. Goblin, not the greatest card to just draw off the top of your deck, for sure. Now, do we want to be using Crushing Blow this turn? That's one of the questions we have to ask. It definitely fits in. I think it's probably fine. If we Crushing Blow the Fighters Guild and just Murkwater Witch the 3-2 and set up to trade with the 3-2, it actually lets us pilfer immediately. Safer play might be to Crushing Blow the 3-2 and just Murkwater Witch down the 1-2. Get a favorable trade with the Cut Purse. We don't get a pilfer immediately, but if he has like a way to deal 1 damage, which is pretty likely because the deck is filled with ways to do that, we don't risk losing our Cut Purse. We do miss 2 damage though. Is it worth it to miss the damage and protect our Cut Purse? I think it's probably for the best. At this point, we're really into seeing Triumphant Jarls. Those are really the cards that we need to win the game. Then like Cliff Racers and Tazcat, obviously. But we have to Crushing Blow. We can Murkwater Witch in the same lane to protect our guys. It's nice. And just develop like a madman. If the Witch does stick and we top deck a Skirmisher, that adds a bunch of damage to the board. It adds 4 to the board, plus the 4 from the Skirmisher, but good enough. Whereabouts, not a good card for us to see. Seems like he's playing a deck, an Archer deck that is well equipped to handle aggressive strategies. Well, I don't want to do the work for him by sacrificing my own guy for the Fighters Guild. This might be a situation in which the Mornhold Trader would be an adequate replacement because we'd be pushing that much more damage. Top decking a 1-2 is definitely not ideal. That's incredibly powerful here. Just damaging his own guys, but it's letting his Fearless Northlander take care of one of my Cutpurse if he so chooses. I'm drawing Ungolem and Curse. Not ideal. I mean, Curse is actually pretty required here. I need some way to deal with this whereabout. So I did get that. Curse the 4-1. Play Cliff Racer in the left. Now, do we punch with all 5 damage, or do we take the trade with the Leaf Lurker? How relevant is that 1 damage going to be? I think we take the trade. Fighters Guild is a little too easy to answer. I'm gonna curse, we're gonna trade. It's not like I can kill him next turn regardless with like any draw. Play Ungolem on the right, hopefully protected. I mean, it's probably gonna survive, then we can maybe get rid of that 6-1 for relatively cheap after it deals some more damage. He could deal 8 to me this turn, but we're still able to play a Triumphant Jarl if we top deck it, once he adds to the board. Especially if I can hit with the Cliff Racer again next turn. And since the Ungolem is covered currently, if the board sticks and I just top deck Tazcad, that's still lethal. We have 5 on board plus the 6 from the Tazcad, so missing the 1 damage from the Fighters Guild Recruit rarely matters, because it would have died anyway. But a lot of reach in this deck to think about. You got to think about how much Skirmisher can add to the board, how much Crushing Blow, Tazcad, Cliff Racer can all add to the board. Belligerent Giant.
Of course I'm on your side.
The unfortunate thing here is that I can't play everything in my hand. If I traded there, and I played Cliff Racer Skirmisher, in order to not be dead on board, I'd have to Cliff Racer into the 2-3, or into that. Either way, it's incredibly unlikely that I would kill him. What if I go ahead and Witch, play the Witch in this lane, and Cliff Racer his face? He has 9 on board. I'd be putting him at 7. I'd have 5 on board. Putting him at 6, actually. I'd still need some damage. It's a very tough turn.
For the Black Hand.
There's a risky way to go about it because we do die if he answers the Witch, and Witch is incredibly easy to answer, but I don't know if we can ever try to kill him next turn, barring a Tazcad top deck with any other line, but it's not looking good. There's the Jarl that would have been good a couple turns ago. Yeah, I have to imagine either the Witch dies or he has extra damage. Pretty close game, though. We suffered from a bit of misfortune being paired against an Archer deck with cards like Skaven, Fearless Northlander, Whereabout, etc. Definitely very well equipped to deal with other more aggressive forms of Archer. But a fun deck and a cool look into aggro Goblin Archer. I suggest you check it out if you're interested in a new type of Archer deck, or if you really want to play a very aggressive deck, or if you just really like Goblins. Again, I'll link the article down below by Lateralus19. Check it out for a more in-depth look and card replacements, matchup analysis, etc. And I will see you guys next time.